Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a spooky Halloween edition of Wrestling Doesn't Make Sense. It's Halloween, or it's close to Halloween, or it's already been Halloween. So it's applicable? Applicable?
Applicable.
Because once again, the show by me. Anyway, happy Halloween, everybody. I hope you had a good one. We're gonna talk about Halloween in professional wrestling.
Mm.
I thought it would come up a little bit more than it did. You know,
Yeah.
turns out like there's a. Well, I was gonna say it turns out there's not a whole lot of spooky, scary, supernatural stuff in wrestling. That's not true. There is loads.
Mhm.
We've got the Undertaker,
Yeah. Famously going for 30 years.
and he's dead. So it's really hard to wrestle when you're dead for 1 year. He's
Yeah.
he's going for 30.
I mean, it's
Um,
pretty good going.
I've heard there's going to be some kind of Undertaker appearance at Survivor Series.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that's the 30th anniversary. Because he was in Survivor Series 1990.
That makes sense.
So he might appear. Wouldn't it be great if he came back with Hulk Hogan and they had like a one more time match? Remember this 30 years ago? And they have a little wrestling. I would be in for that. So there are a lot of characters in the WWE and in wrestling who are kind of spooky,
Mhm.
like the Undertaker for one. I think the Undertaker is probably the most well known, the most successful
Oh, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt.
of the spooky, scary wrestlers. Would you count Kane in that mix as well?
I'd say so because he's got the whole fireball kind of making the pyro come up from the corner power as well. So
Yeah. Boy, I love the idea of having fire power, but like localized fire. I can make fire appear, but only from 4 different points, and I'm directly in the middle of those points. It's kind of like a square, and then four big pillars of fire come up.
yeah.
But I can't do anything else than that. Like
Wasn't
let's
that always like a gimme as well? Like you'd be able to tell if Kane was going to win a match was if the pyro went off before the match started or if he left it until afterwards.
Yeah. Oh well. Okay, so we've got Kane and the Undertaker.
Hmm.
They're pretty spooky scary. I don't think there's a werewolf wrestler, is there?
Unfortunately not.
So there are no werewolf wrestlers then.
No, but there was a zombie wrestler.
Tell me more about the zombie wrestler.
Well, let me take you back to 2006, I believe it was, when people were kind of riding high on ECW nostalgia, and Vince McMahon was like, "Hey, I could make a quick buck off this." So they kind of struck up a deal with the Sci-Fi Network and decided, let's put an hour-long ECW show on there. But because it was on Sci-Fi, I guess they needed some sort of supernatural like gimmicks and stuff. So yeah, they on I believe the debut episode of ECW on Sci-Fi, they wheeled out a guy dressed as a zombie, who basically got caned by the Sandman.
I mean, it's a good use of the Sandman.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Was that the only time the ECW zombie turned up?
Um, Fairly certain it was, yeah.
Well, he had a good run. You would think as a zombie, you would be a pretty good you'd be resilient, right?
Yeah. I mean, as long as you're not being hit in the head.
Yeah. Well, as long as you don't get your head cut off. Isn't that how you kill a zombie?
Yeah, it's like, but yeah, basically, you don't want to, well, you do want to smash their brain open.
Yeah. And that rarely happens in professional wrestling, So
Hmm.
I think it's a missed opportunity, really. A zombie would have been perfect. as a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you have to, what are the definitions of zombie? Is The Undertaker a zombie? We don't know. Probably, right? It's a gray area. See, that's the thing. They were very clever when they came up with The Undertaker about how little they would tell you about his story. And people bought into it anyway. They're like, hey, he's a dead man. The crowd are like, oh, okay. And that's all they needed to explain. Like, but he's alive. I'm like, is he? I remember, well, we remember vampires.
Of course.
There's been a lot of vampires.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin Thorne was a vampire.
Another ECW guy.
Along with Ariel.
Yeah.
Shelly Martinez. They had fangs, therefore they're vampires. But before that, you got to talk about your original vampire. Talking about Gangrel.
Good old Gangrel. One of the best entrances probably in wrestling history.
It was super cool. You can't really deny that the Brood had a super cool entrance.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a little group that it's a shame they didn't go any further. Although I heard Gangrel talking about that, where he said as soon as the Brood got mixed up into the Ministry, he's like, that's the end of us. Right? Like, how do they compete with the Undertaker's fucking stable?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the thing. You have a literal vampire in your company, but at the same time, you got a zombie like the Undertaker that people are really digging, and people love zombies. That's the thing. I think this is a very like generational thing, because before this, like, you had your Draculas, your Frankensteins, the classic monsters, right?
Yeah.
Mummy, the Wolfman. Zombies, like the last since the 70s or 80s, have really taken a fucking, they're super popular now. They take a real jump in popularity. Now poor vampires don't even get a look in.
Well, yeah, unless they're sparkly vampires like in Twilight.
Do they sparkle?
Oh yeah, they famously sparkle. They can go out in the sun, and instead of burning up, they sparkle.
Okay, I haven't seen Twilight or read the books.
I would not recommend them.
Oh?
No, they were just hand-wringing bullshit, really. It was not a good read.
Oh, so you read the books? You didn't watch the films?
No, I did both because I'm a masochist, but
yeah, I was gonna say, like, why the fuck why would you read the books and go, well, that sucked, better watch the film?
Well, maybe the film wouldn't suck as much as the book, but it turns out they did.
That's wishful thinking, man. Wishful thinking. No, I stayed away from the whole Twilight. It just didn't seem like my kind of bag.
Yeah.
Wasn't really into that. The lead actors were too handsome.
No, fair enough.
Don't buy it. No. I like my demons to be a little bit gnarled.
Yeah.
They have to look world weary. They have to
definitely.
they have to, have a experience behind them. They can't just look like some fucking prick just out of school, I ain't gonna deal with this. Who's gonna take that guy seriously? Nobody. Dracula, that guy was fucking 6,000 years old, and he looked like it. That's the hook, you see. Yeah, so we've got Draculas, we've got zombies, no Wolfmen that we know of.
But there was voodoo priests. We've got Papa Shango.
Yeah, I like Papa Shango.
That was a fun gimmick, man. He used to come out with his like things that he was shaking about, his like necklace made of bones and stuff, and then he'd like make his opponents, then he'd like cast a spell on them so they'd start feeling mysterious pains or like start vomiting up this like weird yellow stuff. Or I think one time he even made like the Ultimate Warrior's head start like bleeding from like and just like sort of under his hairline, which is really weird, but looks really cool as well.
Um, I like Papa Shango. I thought that was a cool idea. It
Mm.
must have been based off what's the guy's name?
I think it's Baron
Baron
Samedi.
Samedi. I had his name in my head, and then all I could think of was James Bond. And I'm like, yes, but which, the guy in James Bond. God dang it! Do you remember him in GoldenEye, the game?
Yeah.
He fucking rocked, man. I love Baron Samedi.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So maybe that's why I liked Papa Shango.
Mhm.
It's a very similar deal. But also, yeah, you're right. It looked cool, and the guy, he did it well. He played it well.
Yeah.
So okay, we've got voodoo priests, we've got vampires, we got zombies, with a couple of other classic monsters we're forgetting about, isn't there? I know for a
Uh,
fact there's definitely one
we
who isn't. I'm gonna yeah, get this. Strap yourself in. I mean, you know who it is once I tell you.
go on.
Uh, the Mummy, but
The
he's not
Mummy.
called the Mummy for some reason. He's called
Ah,
he's called the Yeti,
yes.
even though he's dressed up like a mummy, and he's not at all dressed up like a Yeti. Like whoever was in charge of WCW at that time, did they know that the Yeti and the Mummy are two different things?
I'm guessing not. No.
Ah, is everybody familiar with that? I feel like that's one of those classic like wrestle crap kind of. This is one of those examples of a terrible thing in wrestling.
Yeah, I think the whole story about it as well is it wasn't it the Dungeon of Doom who'd like found him like frozen inside a block of ice or something. And
Oh.
then yeah, they kind of sent him out to help the Giant attack Hulk Hogan like Halloween Havoc that year or something like that.
Mm. And then they hugged him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, with like a big double bear hug.
Yeah, it looked super weird.
Uh,
Boy, Hulk Hogan must have been in some real trouble that day. Squeezed in between two giant men like that.
I think didn't they give up on the whole mummy look as well? And they sort of changed it to like a masked ninja or something.
Which is also not what a Yeti is.
Yeah, it's as far away from a Yeti as you can get.
The thing
And
is though, like that guy's really big and tall. They could have made him into a Yeti.
they could have just given him Giant Gonzalez's, old costume and then given him like a Wolfman mask or something. But yeah, they missed the trick there.
Yeah, they just wrapped him in toilet paper.
I
So
guess it
different.
was cheaper.
Right, but come on, man. Like you wouldn't even go to a Halloween party as a mummy just wrapped in toilet paper. You know what I mean? Why would you go on fucking national television like that?
Mm.
So would you class him as a mummy or as a Yeti?
Oh dear, I don't know. I mean, I respect the name. I'll go for a Yeti.
Okay, I would class him as a mummy. Um, I think. I mean, I would love that, like an actual mummy like wrestler. I think that'd be super cool.
Mm.
Um, because because then you could kind of have a story with that. Like if you can have a vampire, then you can have a mummy, right? Because like you open up the tomb and then the mummy is cursed and it comes back to life. The
Mm.
story's already written. It's already there. Same with vampires, like they're immortal. So if you were immortal, right? If you live forever, at some point, wouldn't you go, I've got a lot of time to kill. Why don't I try to become a professional wrestler? Right?
Of course.
By that point, you've already done everything else. You
Yeah.
know, you knew how to fly a plane. You captained a crab fishing boat for 10 years. You got plenty of time in your hands. Like, why don't I become a professional wrestler? You know?
Mm.
So that shit's already right there. And also, people seem to buy the vampire stuff with very little prodding, right? Like,
Yeah.
this guy's a vampire. They're like, great. You're not gonna question the fact that vampires are real. Like, no, of course they're not. Look, this guy's real. He's right here. Kevin Thorne, Gangrel, they're real. Like, all right, cool.
You know what the weird thing with the vampires is as well? Like vampires are famous for, biting necks and sucking blood, but you look at Gangrel and like Vampiro as well. Rather than sucking blood, they would drop lots of blood on like opponents or enemies and stuff.
Yeah,
It's like, why are they
yeah,
doing that? Surely that's like, precious stuff to them. Why are they
right,
dropping it all over the ring?
right. Didn't Vampiro like drop a little blood on Sting?
Yeah. I think the more famous one is where he tried dropping it on Kevin Nash and it missed by about like 2 feet.
Oh, God bless WCW. There was definitely a point where I'm like, I'm happy that there is no WCW. And nowadays, I'm like, boy, I miss that company.
Yeah.
They were ridiculous, but in like a really like, I don't know what, like kind of like an ironic way. If
Mm.
you watch it now, you're like, this sucks, but it's really, it sucks so bad that it's good.
Yeah.
Well, some of it does. Some of it just sucks. you know. Um. Well, that's the thing. Have you got any other famous monster wrestlers?
Well, the only other one I could think of was the Boogeyman.
Right. Now we've gone through zombies, vampires, mummies slash yetis, um, voodoo priests.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We all know what they are. And then when they come out to the ring, you're like, that's yeah. You
Mm-hmm.
know, we know what a Dracula is, or a Dracula. We know what a vampire is, and then whenever Gangrel comes to the ring, we go, okay, that guy's a vampire,
Yeah.
right? The Boogeyman. What? I mean, we know what the Boogeyman is. We've heard of that.
Yeah.
It's an old legend, an old wives' tale. It's an old story. Then when the Boogeyman comes out, you go, what is it? Why has he got a clock?
Why is he eating worms?
why is he? Why does he have a staff? Is he also a voodoo priest?
I mean, if he is, he's not really doing a good job of it.
And also, and this kind of ties back to Vampiro and Gangrel throwing their blood everywhere. Surely, if that was nutritious and important to you, you would want to keep that. I would imagine for a vampire, it's such a pain in the neck. Thank you. Having to try and like get that blood. So if you have it, you stored it. Why would you fucking throw it on Kevin Nash, or try to? It'd be ridiculous. You want to keep it, store it, especially now when you're in lockdown. Vampire be like, hey, I got fucking gallons of blood in my basement. I don't have to leave the house at all. I'm grand. If you're the boogeyman, who I guess eat worms, I
Yeah.
mean, I guess that's just what boogeymen. This is the first boogeyman I've ever seen, so I'm going to have to assume this is what boogeymen do. If you like, he tries to make other people eat worms too.
Yeah, that's
But
like his big calling card, isn't it?
yeah, but they're his worms.
Hmm.
You know, if you've got pizza and you're eating the pizza, somebody comes along and is like, I don't really like pizza. Would you be like, have all the pizza in the world and just force them to eat your pizza?
Hmm.
I don't think you would.
That would be pretty weird.
You'd eat your pizza because you like it.
Yeah.
Why would you force other people to eat worms? I mean, I get that they don't like it, but I'm like, is that what the boogeyman does? They haven't explained it. Again, the Undertaker syndrome. They do very little to explain this shit beforehand in the hopes that the audience will like it so much they won't ask about it. Because it did work with the Undertaker and it did work with Gangrel. Like here's the trick. They both had such awesome entrances, nobody gave a fuck. Right?
Yeah.
Like, Undertaker coming out, great entrance. Gangrel with his fucking blood looked awesome. Nobody was like, wait a minute, is it vampire? What the hell? They were like, yeah, fuck yeah, he spit the blood on the guy, So if a guy comes out with a clock and a staff and he's eating worms, he's like, I'm the boogeyman. You'd be like, all right, I guess. I guess you're the boogeyman. Here's the thing about the boogeyman. He didn't do anything ever.
No. Well, I mean, I will give him
He,
credit. He did one thing where
he had a match against Booker T one time.
I was gonna say when he was kind of like almost haunting Gillian Hall back when she had like the weird sort of moly growth thing on her face.
Yeah.
And then he he licked it and ate it essentially, which was pretty fucking weird, but yeah.
Right. Like, is that what the boogeyman does? He just makes people like mildly uncomfortable.
Yeah, I guess so.
He doesn't try to suck their blood or eat their brains or do whatever it was that Yeti was trying to do to Hulk Hogan.
Mm.
He's just like, I'm just gonna annoy you a little bit, and
Yeah.
that's because Hornswoggle did that. Is Hornswoggle a boogeyman?
I mean, I've seen the Leprechaun movies and
Have you seen them all?
I've seen, yeah, pretty much all of them.
Have you seen Leprechaun in Space?
Yes. Oh God, it was so bad.
Oh my goodness. Was that still Warwick Davis?
Yeah, he was in all of them up until they rebooted it with Hornswoggle.
Is he really? Oh my god, that's so good. Because as I recall, in Leprechaun in Space, I think was like number 6 or something. So there
Mm,
was already like 5 ones before they got to Space, much like Jason. They like
yeah.
stick him in Space, right? But then, as I recall, Leprechaun in Space ends with like the Leprechaun falling to Earth into like the ghetto, and then it turns into the next film, which is Leprechaun 7, Leprechaun in the Hood.
Yeah, I think there was 2 of the In the Hood ones as well.
What?
Yeah, the first one was so successful they kind of had to go back to the well, didn't they?
Oh Christ!
Mm,
Have you seen the one with Hornswoggle?
I have, but you can't tell it's Hornswoggle at all. He's wearing like a lot of uh like a little miniature monster suit basically, and yeah, he's unrecognizable.
Because Warwick Davis just had like the prosthetic face, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it was still him.
Yeah,
Anyway,
and he spoke and stuff as well, whereas I'm pretty sure the Hornswoggle one was just sort of a growling kind of one.
oh God.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's forget about leprechauns. I wouldn't associate them with Halloween though. I mean, I guess they are like a little kind of goblin thing, but
Mm.
I don't know. When you live in Ireland, leprechauns are a year-round thing. Let me tell you that. Always on the lookout for them. All right. So what I was gonna say when we were talking about WCW was
Yeah.
that they were famous for their Halloween Havoc pay-per-view. Well, they were famous for other shit. Halloween Havoc was one part of that though. Halloween Havoc, by the way, which is coming back.
Yeah.
It should have already have happened by the time this podcast is up.
Yes.
So in Halloween Havoc, well, this is I tried to go back and look at some notes because I'm a professional now, as you can tell by
Mm-hmm.
my amazing intros.
Yep.
So I looked at a match from Halloween Havoc. Well, let me say this about Halloween Havoc first. Whenever I say Halloween Havoc to you, what do you remember? What's the first thing that comes to your head when I say Halloween Havoc?
The first thing that comes to my head is the Chamber of Horrors match.
That is not what I thought you were gonna say.
Really?
Yes, because while I was researching this, if you search for Halloween, there's one match that comes up over and over and over again,
Right.
which is Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero.
Ah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, if you want to go with good wrestling, yeah, that one.
I do frequently. I have seen that match a ton of times, as I'm sure everybody has by this point. If you haven't seen it already, please go out of your way to watch it.
Mm.
Beautiful, beautiful match. However, do you know what else was on Halloween Havoc 1997?
I don't.
By the way, don't forget that Chamber of Horrors match because we're coming back to that. But here's the thing: everybody remembers Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero, because they were so good. Great match.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody remembers that. Let me spoil everything for you by quickly telling you what the main event for that show is. You and me have talked about this, I think, on the show before.
Mm-hmm.
Hulk Hogan versus Roddy Piper in a steel cage match,
Ah,
which is awful.
yeah, one of the most famous stinkers of all time, isn't it?
Awful match, so bad. Now, you say that, after having mentioned the Chamber of Horrors match, you say that Hogan versus Piper in a steel cage was a stinker. However, was it Halloween Havoc 1998 when Hulk Hogan fought the Ultimate Warrior?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Would that not be considered the worst match that WCW ever put out?
It's got to be high up there on the list, but I mean, let's face it, there's probably quite a few contenders for that prize.
Well, I gotta say, I don't think I've ever sat through and watched. I feel like I have just to torture myself, much like you with the Twilight films. I feel like I've definitely watched that match before, but I don't remember it. Whereas I remember watching Hogan and Piper in that cage, and that was god awful. It was so bad. It didn't make any sense. No. So that was their main event in 1997.
Yeah.
They had Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero tearing it up on the mid card. I think it was the third match, and then the rest of the show was awful. But one thing I wanted to mention real quickly, because NXT Halloween Havoc has happened, was that in 1993 they had the Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal.
Of course.
Which has reemerged on NXT. So I thought, all right, let's have a little look at this. What's the main event of that show? Why, it's only Cactus Jack versus Vader.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, it sounds nice, doesn't it?
Uh-oh.
May I remind you that we're talking about WCW here. You gotta spin the wheel to make the deal, my friend. And so they spun the wheel. What did the wheel land on? It landed on Texas Deathmatch. Which again sounds great. Right? All right. Because Texas Deathmatch, I thought was just a fucking no disqualification match, right?
Yeah.
Like a street fight. No, dude, there's rules. Have you seen this match?
No, but I think I remember reading about it in Mick Foley's autobiography.
Okay. Well, let me try to explain the rules. So it is like a no disqualification, no count out kind of business. So these two brawlers are gonna brawl. And good lord, do they ever, right? Shit goes down. Here's the thing. I've made it very clear that it's no disqualifications. They're hitting each other with chairs and shit, right? Harley Race is accompanying Vader, and he hides a taser in his pocket.
Right.
You remember this?
No.
Oh, well, near the end of the match, he tasers Cactus Jack, but he does it outside of the referee's view.
Okay.
Like, why? It's no disqualification, right? Like, just why didn't you start with that? The no disqualification match, you can just tease him, right? But no. So here's the rules, all right? Let me see if I get this correct, because it's so complicated. It's no disqualification match. So pinfalls count anywhere, but you have to get a pinfall on your opponent for the full 3 count. And then there is a 30-second rest period. And then there are 10 seconds after that where the man has a chance to get back up to his feet. And if he can't get back up to his feet after that 10 count, then he loses.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I'm getting it.
Okay. They didn't explain the pinfall bit till halfway through the match. Cactus Jack gets a pinfall on Vader, and then the referee starts counting, and you're like, what? But Cactus Jack won. Cactus Jack, by the way, pinned Vader twice in this match, who was the World Heavyweight Champion. This match was not for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
Mick Foley pinned the Heavyweight Champion twice, and they didn't do anything with it. Just forget it. So anyway, these guys are brawling, right? And like I said, the rules seem to be you get a pinfall, and then there's a rest period for 30 seconds for some reason that I don't understand. And then it turns into like a last man standing match.
Okay.
Right? So it seems like the pinfall was like to qualify the last man standing part of it.
Yeah.
You have to get a pinfall for the 30-second rest period to happen, and then the 10 seconds of the last man standing business. So this happens. Well, something happens at some point. By the way, they go out, they fight onto the set, and a quote from Tony Schiavone is, "Cactus has a cactus." As Cactus Jack picked up a plastic cactus and hit Vader over the head with it. So at some point, Vader fucking kills Cactus Jack with a chair shot to the head, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just levels him dead and doesn't pin him. He just walks around for 30 seconds, right? While Harley Race has like the taser in his pocket. He kind of dances around for at least 30 seconds. Then he pins Cactus.
Mm.
And then the 30-minute rest period's supposed to happen. But it doesn't. No. There must have been something before or after the chair shot, because both men are down. Like, there's a pinfall, and then both men are down. And then Cactus Jack gets back up. And then Harley Race tasers him, so he falls back down. Vader gets back up to his feet. He's the winner.
Right.
But they didn't do the 30-second rest period for that bit.
Okay.
The point is, it was not good.
It sounds like a shambles.
Yes. So that's a warning to anybody who wants to go back and watch old Halloween Havoc matches. You are in for a real, it could go either way. You could get Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio, or you could just get some other overbooked piece of garbage, such as Vader versus Cactus Jack or Hogan versus Piper.
So you're almost saying you're gonna spin the wheel and then maybe make a deal yourself if you're gonna go back and watch a Halloween Havoc match.
Exactly. You got to spin the wheel to make that deal. And I've seen the wheel, and it does not play in your favor at all. So yeah, they've tried to spin the wheel fucking thing before in WWE, haven't they?
Yeah, they had the Raw Roulette stuff going on.
Yeah. Let me really quickly jump back to the WWE, because like I said, I was trying to research some Halloween stuff, and I got this little gem for you. As you would imagine, there's going to be a lot of Divas costume parties, which there were, and I didn't really want to have to sit through a lot of these. One of them was from like Cyber Sunday, and it was, was what it was. I'm going to talk about this one I saw that was on Raw, October 25th, 2005. So now we're in the real prime time for the women's division. This is going to be quality work.
Yeah.
Jerry the King Lawler is in the middle of the ring, so you already know this is not going to end well for the women. And he introduces a costume contest. We're going to have a Divas Halloween costume contest on Raw, and then the day after that is Taboo Tuesday. So they're going to have a match at Taboo Tuesday. I assume all the people that were introduced in this are the participants in that match. So Victoria came out as a baseball lady. She was just dressed up like she was playing baseball.
Yeah.
Which is very classy. I like Victoria.
Yeah.
Smart kid. Ashley came out as a bad angel, like a dark angel.
Right.
Then Maria came out as a good angel.
Okay.
Candice Michelle came out as Catwoman. And then Mickie James came out. This is when Mickie James must have been pretty new to the company. Mickie James came out as Trish.
Okay.
And then Trish came out as Wonder Woman. And all the way through the segment, there was a lot of like, "Hey, Mickie, what's with the costume?" And she's like, "I'm Trish." Duh. So this must have been the start of that angle.
Nice.
Exactly. So this had a purpose. It actually had a reason for it, or it was a flimsy excuse to get Maria to dress up like an angel. And when I say like an angel, I don't mean like a robe, right? Yeah. I think you know what I mean when I say Maria was dressed like an angel.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Okay. Now let me just, I picked this one because it seemed like the best of all the Divas costume things because it had a purpose to it. It was clearly like a part of the Mickie James Trish storyline, which was great. And those two guys did a really good job with it. Especially in a time whenever women's wrestling wasn't being looked at in a favorable manner.
Yeah.
And this is why. Because at Taboo Tuesday, the day after this Raw, the fans got to decide the match stipulations. So
Okay.
there's gonna be a big match between all these women on Taboo Tuesday. Would you like to hear the stipulations that the fans can vote on?
Yeah, hit me up with them.
Okay. Well, bearing in mind that some of the other stipulations you could vote for, like who was gonna fight John Cena for the heavyweight championship, right? Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
This one was you get to decide whether the women compete dressed in lingerie, whether they compete in leather and lace, mm, or whether they all compete dressed up in cheerleader outfits.
Hey, hey, hey.
So there you go. I saw
They
that. I'm like, not a big fan of this. This is not good. However, moments after that on Raw, they had John Cena versus Shawn Michaels. So I'm like, all right, I think I'll stick around for this. Oh yes, Shawn Michaels versus John Cena. Thank you very much. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, so that kind of took the bad taste out of my mouth from whether the women compete in a lot. And of course, the King is saying all this with like the straightest of faces.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be lingerie. Like, don't. Not. It's not a good. So anyway, that seems to be my Halloween research when it comes to wrestling.
Well, I
So,
mean, at least we've moved on from those days where that was all, the women were seen as good for was essentially just dressing up in sexy costumes, rather than, being given a chance to go out and wrestle.
exactly. And now we've got NXT. I believe the host is Shotzi Blackheart for
Yeah,
this Halloween Havoc thing, which is appropriate because Shotzi Blackheart. Hey, I had said there were no werewolves in wrestling, but Shotzi Blackheart howls at the moon.
that's true.
Is Shotzi Blackheart a werewolf?
Ah,
Have we come full circle? Have we cracked the code? Have we figured it out? Is Shotzi Blackheart really a werewolf in wrestling? Oh my goodness.
well, there we go. I guess we'll find out on Halloween Havoc.
How did we do that? Boy, we are good at this fucking thing, aren't we? Unbelievable. Yes, I'm looking forward to Halloween Havoc. Like I said, at the time of recording, we haven't seen it yet. Um, but we're looking forward to it. Anyway, is there anything else you want to say about spooky Halloween in general or in wrestling?
Well, there's just one thing I wasn't really looking forward to on Halloween Havoc, and that's apparently there's going to be a haunted House of Terror match between
What?
Dexter Loomis and Cameron Grimes,
Oh
which
no.
suggests it's going to be another one of the old cinematic bullshit matches that we've seen so much of this year.
No.
Yep.
We were doing so well. It was starting to pick up.
I know.
Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso.
God.
Drew McIntyre. Oh, Kyle O'Reilly versus Finn Balor. It was starting to get good. We had left the cinematic matches behind us. We had let other people do that shit. No. Well, we have to see. We haven't seen it.
No, you never know. It could be really good, but then again, it could be like the old Randy Orton Bray Wyatt House of Horrors match. So
Well, this podcast is going up the day after Halloween Havoc is going to be on TV. So wouldn't it be really funny if it actually was like a classic match and we're sitting here going, "Oh, this is gonna suck."
yeah, they can make us eat our words. I'm more than happy for them to do that.
That's the thing about the WWE. We say that all the time. We're like, we will be happy to be proven wrong.
Mm.
For the love of God, do something good and then prove us wrong, right? So I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah.
Now, what we both made clear so far, is that historically, wrestling has been a bit up and down with its Halloweeny gimmicks. And two, Halloween Havoc doesn't always pay off.
Yes.
So those two things are worth bearing in mind whenever you check out the NXT version of Halloween Havoc. And if you have the network and you want to go back and watch some old Halloween Havoc pay-per-views, may I say that you should proceed with caution. Because quite apropos, it will be scary.
Yes.
You will be scared, but not in a good way. Not like Ultimate Warrior, Oh, who was it? Hulk Hogan seeing Ultimate Warrior in the mirror?
Yeah, he's the only one, even though Eric Bischoff is right there, and even though we can see him and stuff.
And it's definitely not a two-way mirror.
No, no, of course not.
No way, that's the deal. Oh,
That
Christ.
just made Eric Bischoff look like the weird one, because, like, why can't he see him?
Yeah, we can see him. The fucking cameraman filming this shit can see it. So that's something to look forward to, guys. Enjoy that. Anything else you want to say about Halloween? Do you like Halloween?
I'm indifferent to it. It's not like
Yeah.
I've ever been like trick or treating, or I do a lot of dressing up or whatever for Halloween. But it's a good excuse to buy lots of sweets and not give any out to any kids and just eat them myself. So
Well, that's the best thing about this year is that there's gonna be no trick or treaters.
yeah,
So you can buy all the sweets and like, oh, it's for Halloween, but really it's for yourself.
of course.
That's what I've done. I was in Tesco's the other day. They had a 20 pack of Kinder Buenos.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding me? 20 packs? This is amazing. There
Well,
you go.
I've been going to Lidl and buying for £4, like essentially, a big gigantic bag of random sweets, and filling a bucket with them basically.
I'm gonna have a great Halloween by not doing anything.
I'm gonna overdose on sweets.
Ooh, don't actually.
Well, we'll see.
I mean, I need a podcast host.
Well, okay,
We need to talk about Halloween Havoc.
that's true.
I mean, we don't actually. We might not even mention it. We'll see. We'll have to see when it comes out.
Mhm.
But yes, everybody have a good Halloween, a safe Halloween. Dress up as the spookiest thing you can, and let us know. And I guess we'll see you in the next episode. So take care and have fun at Halloween, I guess. Yep. Neil over the outro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.